Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Today I am sharing a pick a pile readings video. So this is your opportunity to choose whatever deck you feel drawn to. This is going to be deck 1, deck 2, and deck 3. And if you go check out the description box, you'll find the timestamps where your reading will begin. As always, I appreciate you guys being here and I appreciate you guys watching all of the different things that I'm sharing with you. I really hope that this reading finds you well and that it brings you some peace and some guidance. I know it's been a while, but I appreciate you guys being so understanding as my time has been a little bit short and I really wasn't feeling that inspired to share these on here, but I hope to be able to do these with a little bit more regularity. So enjoy, take care, and as always, make good choices. Bye. Hello, pile 1. I'm trying a slightly different angle because I've noticed in some of my last videos, since I try to hold my camera up a little too high, I can't see where it's filming or how it looks. So I'm trying to kind of angle it a little bit different. So hopefully this is a little bit easier for you guys to actually see the cards that I'm talking about. And you know, I'm learning and I appreciate the patience as I kind of figure it out. So pile number 1, let's see what the guidance is for you at this time. This card we have is the Velocity of Earth reversed. The 6 of Earth reversed. The 2 of Fire. The 4 of Fire. And finally, the 5 of Water, even though I feel like I don't want to end it on that. So we're going to pull one more. The Elder. All right, I think those are all of the actual tarot cards I want to pull, but we're also going to pull a few of these lovely little oracle cards that I have over here. So we have New Life. And we have Follow What Makes You Happy. I actually think I like this a little bit easier because I can actually see what it looks like when I'm recording instead of having to just send it when I'm done. And then we have Relating. I also feel like I want to do something else. I'm going to pause and then pull some other decks that I want. All right, I think I got some other decks that I want to use. So here we have A Life Well Lived. And then, since you may have heard, Pluto moved into Aquarius. We have Elephant from the Oracle of Pluto. I'm going to put that there. Hopefully it still looks good in frame. And I don't usually use this deck in public with people because I know it's not really for everybody, but I felt really drawn to using this today. So then we have Quiet. I go into peaceful silence and I listen. So let's see. All right, pile 1, are you ready? Now that I feel like I've pulled everything that I need to pull here. All right, so the very first card we got was the Velocity of Fire, Velocity of Earth, which is essentially the Knight of Pentacles reversed. So I feel like whenever we're talking about the knights, there is a sense of movement, momentum, going after things. And with this being pentacles, this is very much about the physical. So this is earth, right? This is money, material, the physical body. This can be, you know, our home, our spaces, our material goods. And this can imply that maybe there's been some sort of slowdown in these aspects, or maybe you're feeling like you're not making any progress in some of these areas. So right now there may be a little bit of this sense of things are not really as established as you would like them to be. Maybe there is a little bit of hesitation to kind of move forward in certain ways, just because you're not getting the message of like what it is that you should be doing or what it should look like moving forward. So there's something that is inhibiting you from being able to truly move forward in the way that you would like. The other thing with this is that, again, the knights are usually like, what are you willing to fight for? What are you willing to kind of go to battle for? And so there may be a lot of this internalization about what truly you value, what you really desire at this current moment, as far as like what that will look like in your physical life and in your physical manifestations. There may be some things kind of going on with your health. There may be some things going on with your physical body that are kind of saying like, hey, you got to pay attention. And so there may be this sense of lost time, I feel, whenever I get like a reverse night. I feel like it's this kind of energy of like, oh man, I should be, doing this instead of like still waiting. So there is a sense of things are maybe not progressing as quickly as you want them to. There's some sense of almost like holding back at this time. And I know that that can feel very frustrating because, we make our plans, but life kind of always does its own thing, and it does not really take into account what we're trying to do with our lives. And I think with the velocity of Earth or the Knight of Pentacles reversed here, it is very much that kind of energy of really feeling like I have done everything I needed to do. I don't understand why things are not really moving in the direction that I need, or things are really not coming together the way that I had anticipated. Now, next to that, we have the Six of Earth. Now, the Six of Earth reversed is essentially the Six of Pentacles reversed. This is a card that really talks about giving and receiving. It talks about that balance between who we are and what we give, and what we receive and how we show up. And I think with the Six of Pentacles reversed is that maybe it's saying that you're not really putting yourself out there enough to say, this is what I need. I'm going to show up in these ways. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Maybe we're being a little bit like tight-fisted in some ways. Maybe we're forgetting that we do have a supportive amount of people around us that want to show up for us whenever we need. The other thing with this energy is I feel like whenever it's reversed, it can kind of imply that it's like kind of moving back into the previous card's energy. And that would be the Five of Pentacles or the Five of Earth. And so we have this sense of like maybe feeling lonely, maybe feeling like we're kind of doing our own thing. Maybe we're feeling a little bit overly isolated with things. And we're just kind of recognizing that we don't have a lot of again, that stability, that foundation, that sense of being supported into the next thing, especially with the Knight of Pentacles reverse being here, kind of like kicking off this energy where we're kind of like, oh, I thought this was going to be this, and I thought I would be a little bit further along on my journey, and I'm realizing I still have to ask for help. I still have to have people show up for me. I still have to really recognize and see what's going on. And the Six of Earth also implies a sense of showing up, doing what you need to do, and being rewarded for it, in the sense of when other people see you trying, other people will also show up for you in those ways, because that's just how it is. I think that's kind of stating that at the current moment, there is a little bit of this sense of maybe reevaluating like what you're doing, what you value, and who's around you at this time. Now, if we move right along to card number 3, we have the Two of Fire. Now, this is really stating that we need to plan. We need to come together. There is this sense of like really making our strategy and kind of figuring out what comes next, because we're getting this like sense of, okay, I need to know what it is that I want to do moving forward. Now, this is the Two of Wands, right? So it's very much creativity and momentum and movement and just this opportunity to really make choices that make us feel more aligned and in balance with what it is that we truly desire. So I feel like maybe some things physically didn't work out the way that you thought they were going to this year. So now this is your opportunity to be a little bit more creative with what it is that you're doing. And so you're given an opportunity to show up for yourself in new ways, while also understanding that this is still like in development. It's still something that is new. It may feel a little bit foreign or uncomfortable, but there's an excitement. There's a sense of rebalancing what it is that you're prioritizing, what it is that you want moving forward. And I think with the Two of Fire, we're also kind of given this opportunity to kind of come together with others that maybe can show up for us, especially if we've been feeling like we don't really have anything that is supporting us in some ways, or we feel like we've been overgiving and not receiving. The Two of Fire is here to kind of remind you that you do have an opportunity to show up in these ways and to kind of do what you need to do. And I think the most important thing with the Two of Wands is that it does have this like sense of showing up for, what kind of relationships and connections are you building? The twos always kind of imply choices and balance and relationship and connection. And so it's almost saying like, who are you connecting with right now? Who's making sense for you at this current moment? And what does that look like for you? So I think with the Two of Fire, it's almost saying like right now, since things haven't really been physically moving as quickly as you want them to, this is your opportunity to maybe reconnect and make a strategy, make a plan for what it is that you value and what it is that you want moving forward. So there is a little bit of the sense of, okay, what do you really desire? What do you really want? And what does this feel like for you in the sense of, the grand scheme of what you are trying to focus on as we come to the end and the closeout of 2024. Now, underneath it, we have the Four of Wands, which is a card of joy and stability and celebration and coming together and kind of taking some time out to acknowledge and recognize the milestones that you've overcome. I know sometimes we forget that in life, right? We forget to celebrate the things that we do or how we show up or what we are, focusing on. We feel like we can only celebrate whenever something's completed and done and has been successful. But maybe sometimes we need to kind of take a step back and say it's okay to even celebrate some of the failures because those things still kind of lead you where you need to be. And I'm only saying this as someone that, recently has had quite a bit of failure and has been wanting to just be in a more celebratory mood in the sense of, I don't get me wrong, I still have like my little crying fit or whatever about it, but I do try to move forward and I do try to do something about it. So it's like the other day we went out for milkshakes, I was just kind of like, I just need to change the energy a little bit here. And I think doing something like that where you just kind of give yourself that grace of, I need to just be present in the moment and really understand that the relationships and connections around me are going to be the things that are most vital. They're going to be the things that really feed me and give me what I need versus being so focused on, what this may look like on the outside to everybody else. Back to the Four of Fire or the Four of Wands, we have this energy of really showing up for ourselves in different ways. And I think that this is really saying like maybe you need to take some time out to kind of come together with the people that you love, the people that support you, the people that make you feel connected. Maybe you've kind of forgotten what that feels like or what that should look like for you. And it's easy, believe me, it's so easy to forget. It's, I think we kind of feel like we shouldn't celebrate because there's other things that are happening in this world or things that are kind of going on. Sorry if you see smoke, I have this incense burning over here. So there is a little bit of this sense of what can we do to really reestablish joy and stability in our lives, to celebrate, to come together, that sense of, I think many of us kind of wait till the end of the year, the holiday season, to kind of see the people that we love and celebrate and do kind things for one another. And that is the one thing that I wish we could kind of have throughout the year, where we have this like sense of camaraderie and coming together and just kind of celebrating how beautiful life can truly be if we just allow a little bit more magic into it. Now, next to that, we do have the Five of Water, which is essentially the Five of Cups. So this can talk about emotional losses. This can talk about, sorry, I did not mean to hit the microphone. This can just be a little bit of this sense of almost feeling like we're having to kind of walk away from certain things. We may be too focused on what we are losing or what is ending versus like what is still available to us or what is still being presented to us. And so sometimes we feel like, if we don't properly emotionally deal with certain aspects, that we, can just move forward to the next thing. And unfortunately, the Five of Cups is kind of coming in and saying, okay, no, we're going to process these things. We have to. We can't just always be like in this kind of energy of feeling stuck, of feeling like overwhelmed by the things that have happened. And I think the biggest thing with the Five of Water is that it is essentially an invitation to say, what do I really want moving forward? What is it that I value? Because cups can talk about our connections, they can talk about our feelings, our intuition, our dreams. And so it's almost this like interrelatedness that comes with the five here. And I think it's interesting to have the Six of Earth kind of pointing down, the giving and receiving, is that maybe there's a lot of emotionality that we need to kind of reconnect to and give ourselves an opportunity to say, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I need to fix this. This is what this is going to look like. And I think the biggest thing with this is that there is a little bit of this co-creative energy that comes with the cups here, because it's talking about our feelings, it's talking about our connections. And so it's almost saying like we need to acknowledge what hasn't worked out. We have to acknowledge what we've lost and how we actually really truly feel about it so that we can move forward. Especially if, we're in this kind of space of like, oh, I just want to focus on like the joy and the stability that I have. And it's nice to kind of recognize those milestones and to celebrate those milestones. But then there's also this other side to the coin that's kind of saying like we still have to kind of see like what we had to kind of go through and what happened in order for us to really grow into being able to have the things that I want, and kind of alchemizing all of these challenges or these difficulties into something that is truly going to help us feel a lot more established in what we are. Now, finally, we have the Elder, which is essentially the Emperor. So this is really about leading, right? It's almost saying like, how can we lead into the next thing? How can we show up for ourselves in ways that are of benefit for what we need, what we should be doing? And I think that this is almost saying like maybe we're focusing a little bit more on like the foundation, the structure, the rigidity. There is like this sense of it's not a time to dominate. It's a time to kind of move forward and lead into the next thing. So there is a lot of power that's associated with the Emperor, but it is kind of this divine masculine energy. It's really requiring us to kind of dig deep into ourselves and not allow ourselves to be kind of emotionally overwhelmed. And I think that's why we have the Five of Cups beforehand. It's almost saying like we have to kind of deal with the emotions that we've had and process those things, and then also kind of come to terms with it's okay for us to be happy too, even if we have experienced loss. The Elder is kind of saying, and in that we can kind of use that to our advantage. We can use that to build our strength upon so that we're not shaken up by certain things. And it's going to require us to really start being more strategic about a lot of things, even as we kind of reevaluate who's around us, who's showing up for us, who's kind of supporting us. Because the Elder is more of you kind of stepping more fully into your personal power and showing up in that energy without forgetting what it is that you need with that. And so there is a little bit of this sense of reconnecting a little bit more to the divine masculine within yourself. And so there is this like, I feel this like need to see what it is that you really need for yourself and build upon that. Moving right along to the Oracle cards, the very first one we have is New Life, which I feel really mirrors the energy of the Elder. We have another 4, right? So to me, this is very much about you stepping into a new energetic space for yourself. And I think that's why there's been all of this kind of like restructuring within your life that is kind of coming up and saying, okay, we need to shift. We need to do something different. I think with the New Life card, it's also an invitation for you to say what that looks like for you. I think a lot of the times we feel like our new lives come with so little that we can actually control. And I think this new life card is kind of saying like, no, forget that. Like, you get to choose. You get to kind of activate what you want moving forward. And I think that's really by you kind of following what makes you happy. I'm not going to be able to pick this up, so sorry. You have to follow what makes you happy. And I think that this is almost saying like, I'm seeing a lot of like little mountainscapes here. So it's almost saying like maybe you feel like there's been so many challenges, so many different things that you've had to kind of overcome. And maybe you're still worried about what that looks like for the future. Maybe you're very like, dang, I've already overcome all of these things. I've already walked away from so many things. What comes next may feel very hard, but it's also really about you really following what makes you happy. And that's what's going to allow you to really step fully into your new life without feeling disconnected from things, even if you don't really know how to plan for it, even if you don't know how to do different things that you feel you should be doing at this time. And I think it's interesting because then I also got this card that says a life well lived. And your new life is kind of implying that you're really wanting to connect to this kind of energy of really saying, hey, I want to live a life that has been well lived. And we have the number 8 here. So it's like the elder, having that structure, that foundation, and kind of building upon it in a way that feels more connected for you, that feels a lot more prepared for what it is that you want and what it is that you desire. So I think a life well lived is really going to be the significant lesson for you moving forward, and also in relating. And I think relating is one of these things that a lot of us tend to struggle with because it talks about, comparison, other people's projections or expectations of us kind of keeping us small and hidden and kind of like stuck in old patterns or in old situations. And essentially, this is really saying it's time for you to rely on yourself, to kind of move into your own thing, to not allow yourself to be distracted by other people's expectations. Because again, this is about you really connecting to a life well lived. So as much as you're like, oh, I want other people to show up for me, like the 6 of Earth, that 6 of Pentacles kind of energy of like giving and receiving and kind of having that community. This is almost saying like you can only relate to people so far. Like we can only connect so far. It's really up to us to say, I have to relate to myself and I need to connect to myself as well in order for other people to feel that authentic energy coming from you. Now, for the Oracle of Pluto, I don't typically use this deck, and it's not because I find it challenging. I just haven't really used it entirely too much, and it's funny because I just opened up to the Elephant card. So the meaning here is obstacles, strength, majesty, wisdom, and endurance. So again, another kind of call for wisdom, endurance, and strength. And again, those obstacles kind of energy. So this is kind of saying that, looking over. So this talks about the energy of Ganesh and kind of connecting to the energy of abundance and money and financial success and overcoming obstacles, because that is another thing that Ganesh tends to help with. And so there's a lot of strength and wisdom attached to the energy of this card. And so I think that can talk about, really talking about resiliency, endurance, and essentially there's a lot of good luck up ahead for you. And so I think that this is really saying like maybe there's some obstacles that you're currently facing and it can feel very frustrating, but maybe because the situation has been playing out for such a long time, maybe you're feeling a little bit defeated, a little bit discouraged, but it is kind of reminding you of your strength and your wisdom and what you're learning in this situation. And I think the biggest thing is that elephant spirit or elephant kind of energy to me really is about leaning into community. It's about leaning into your wisdom. And again, that resiliency, that strength, that opportunity of understanding like how intelligent you are, even if it doesn't feel like you know what you're doing at this current moment. And then finally, we have quiet, which is I go into peaceful silence and I listen. I think that this is almost saying like maybe you need to take some time out to kind of quiet your mind, quiet your heart, quiet yourself a little bit, and not be so like I gotta do this and I gotta do that, and I need to finish this and I need to finish that, and I need to, blah, 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 all the things, right? And I know as we're moving, sorry, I keep hitting the microphone. I know as we're moving into the holiday season, it's even harder for us to take some time out to be quiet, to connect with ourselves, to kind of say, hey, this is what I need. Hey, this is what it needs to look like, or whatever. It's challenging, but I think that this quiet card is kind of saying, like, your heart also needs it so that you can understand what makes you happy, so that you can kind of see, like, are you relating, or are you wanting other people to just connect with you that maybe aren't the sort of people that you should be connected to. And by going into peaceful silence and by listening, you'll be able to discern what actually is for you, especially if you're coming off of like a situation where like you thought everything was going to be the way that it was going to, and celebrating and kind of saying, like, this is exactly what I'm going to have for the rest of my life, to the emotional loss and the understanding that maybe not all things are exactly as we want them to be, so that you can kind of step back into like leading yourself into the sort of life that you really want. So I know we talked about a few things here. I hope that this reading made sense. I appreciate you guys watching. And as always, please take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. So have a good one. Bye. Hello, Pile 2. Thank you so much for joining me today. I changed up the angle so that I could actually see what I'm doing. So hopefully everything looks a little bit better. I'm learning. All right, so let's see what the message is for pile number 2 today and see what you guys need to focus on. The first card we have is the Explorer of Swords reversed, the Two of Swords upright, the Nine of Cups upright, the 10 of Cups upright, Temperance, and the Magician. Nice cards. We're going to put this over here. All right, we're going to pull our other cards as well. So let's see what we have. We have Good Fortune. We have Worry Not. And then we have Inner Authority. We have the Mother of Invention. And we also have, let's see over here, Crab. I'll try to keep this nice and neat over here. And then we have Signs, or actually 2, Signs and Sobriety. And I don't feel like I want Sobriety. I'm going to put that one up. I think it's just Signs. It's still a deck I haven't really used too much, so I think the cards are still stuck together. All right. All right, so the very first card that we got here is going to be the Explorer of Swords. Now, this is essentially the Knight of Swords. And it's interesting to get it reversed because I feel like this can just talk about maybe a disconnection between how we're communicating, the mind, our like sense of empowerment, our sense of truth. So there may be this sense of maybe it's hard for you to kind of get down to what you're valuing at the current moment in the sense of who you are, what sort of words are you using. And I think it's very appropriate for Mercury in Sagittarius kind of stationing retrograde. We're getting kind of the sense of like maybe kind of pulling back a little bit. Maybe there's a lack of momentum, a lack of movement as far as what we're going after at the current moment. Maybe we're wanting to kind of touch base with what do we value, who we are, how we're showing up in that energy, and what it means as far as like what direction are we really truly headed in. So maybe we're wanting to be a little bit more careful about the words that we're saying, how we're communicating, who we're communicating with. And again, this is a card that kind of wants us to focus on our empowerment, our truth, our sense of how honest are we with ourselves? And so I think that this can really talk about a reflection of sorts, and the sense of maybe kind of getting down to who we truly are and how we're showing up in different ways. And so it can feel a little bit hard as far as like what messages we're receiving or what we're not receiving. So let's move on to card number 2, which is going to be the Two of Swords. So while the Explorer of Swords or the Knight of Swords reversed is kind of saying that maybe we're not really connecting to our truth, the Two of Swords here is saying that maybe there's something that we're refusing to see. We're disconnected. We're not trusting our intuition. We're kind of blocking ourselves, or we're kind of stuck in this like sense of not really wanting to make a choice. Now, twos really talk about balance and choices and options and connection and community, in the sense of what we're doing as far as like our interconnectedness with others. And the Two of Swords is saying that maybe we're overthinking something. We're too much in our heads. We're not wanting to actually choose what it is that is being presented to us. Maybe we don't like the options that are here. But the thing with the Two of Swords is it doesn't really matter if we like what is being presented to us at this time. We have to proactively say yes to something, and not making a choice is still a choice. So I think with this, it's really just kind of saying maybe we're just a little bit stuck. Maybe we just feel like we're not really getting the opportunity to say, this is what I want to do. This is how I want it to be. This is how things will be moving forward. We're just kind of crossing ourselves in some ways, kind of like these swords are crossed here. So there is a little bit of this sense of disconnectedness that makes us maybe question, if we're on the right path, if we're doing the right thing, if we're showing up in the ways that we need to. And I think the biggest thing is, especially having this like Knight of Swords behind it, where we're just feeling a little bit like on shaky ground with what we're doing, how we're showing up, and what that means for us moving forward. Now, the beautiful thing here is that we do have the Nine of Cups, which is really a card of like our wishes coming true, our dreams being fulfilled. But because it is a 9, there is this element of there's something that maybe we need to let go of. And I think with that Two of Swords behind it, as much as we may hope that we're making the right choices, that we're doing the right thing, that we're showing up in the ways that we're supposed to, the Nine of Cups is kind of saying this is our opportunity to really make our wish, to really say, okay, this is what I'm working towards. This is what I've been doing. So as much as it may feel like we're disconnected, or things haven't really come together the way that we had anticipated, or maybe we feel like we're lacking some momentum, our desires are still coming to the surface. They're still coming to fruition. It's just maybe not going to look the way that we thought it was going to, just because we've been a little bit disconnected, or we've been feeling a little bit cross, or we've been feeling a little bit like things haven't really worked out the way that we intended them to. So the Nine of Cups is really essentially our invitation to kind of say, what are we wishing for? What does that look like? And what are we doing in order for that to actually come together for us? Like, what space are we making for our dreams? What space are we making for our wishes? A big thing with manifesting is essentially saying, I am going to put it out there that this is what I want. And then I'm also not going to control it. I'm just going to like give it its space to grow, to take root. Now, because this is a Cups card, this is also very much about connection and community and our relationships and our feelings and our intuition. So at this moment, maybe we're finally feeling a little bit more grounded in how we really truly feel about what we're going through and what we have in our lives. So if we move on to the next card, is the Ten of Cups, which is what follows the Nine of Cups. Now, this is essentially the happy life card, everything coming together. This is like an opportunity for us to celebrate. This is us really having things turn for the better. This is the culmination of everything that we've felt, everything that we've experienced, everything that maybe has been challenging us, and finally clearing the path towards our happiness, towards connectedness, towards, happy relationships, or, everything really materializing in a way that really brings us a sense of wholeness. And I know when we're in the middle of like this confusing kind of feeling crossed, feeling disconnected, feeling kind of like I don't know what to think about what I'm doing and what comes next, the 10 of Cups is kind of going to feel really far away from that. It's going to feel very like, yeah, okay, whatever you say. But with the 9 of Cups and the 10 of Cups right after, I think that it really is reminding you that you get to choose what you want moving forward. You get to kind of say, okay, from this point forward, this is what I want, this is what I need. And the 10 of Cups is really saying, and here you go. This is your reward. This is you putting in the effort and the hard work and being rewarded for it. And you essentially are the person in control as far as like your level of happiness. What makes you happy? What makes you feel connected? What makes you feel surrounded by the love that you've been pouring out into others? And I think the biggest thing with the 10 of Cups is that it really is this beautiful, centered, grounded kind of energy that is like in happiness. So whatever it is that's making you happy, that is what you should be focusing on. And that is what you're co-creating from. And I think that for a lot of us, it can just, again, it can seem so far away. It can seem so like I've been through it. Like things have not been going how I thought they were going to. They have not turned out how I thought they were going to. What do you mean all of a sudden things are going to work out in my favor, or they're going to turn out how I expected? Now, next to that, we have Temperance, which this is interesting because this is the card of Sagittarius, and we are about to move into Sagittarius season. But Temperance is all about balance. It is like, it's very much about that fine kind of line between everything. It is ice and fire creating something new, which is smoke. And so we are essentially kind of asked in some ways to be a little bit more of an alchemist, which is funny because I also look at the Magician as an alchemist, and that's the final of the tarot cards that we have here. And so I'm going to adjust this because I think it's crooked and it's driving me crazy. All right. I think with Temperance, I think it's almost saying like we're finally moving into something that is much more balanced. It's going to feel less like we're having to pick and choose what does and doesn't work. We're really moving into a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, a lot of like our wishes being fulfilled, our dreams coming true, our efforts being rewarded. And Temperance is kind of saying, and then now we get to find the balance. Now we get to really figure out what this means for us overall. It doesn't always have to be one extreme or the other. That is the big thing with Temperance, is sometimes it can seem very much like we're having to bring together two very different things about ourselves and about our situation. But I think that this is more of an invitation to kind of say, okay, I have all of these things, within me. I have all of these things above me. How can I kind of bring these two together to make something new, to create something that is more balanced, more centered, more grounded in the overall experience of what I'm looking for? The other thing with Temperance, I think that it is kind of saying like maybe it is a time to kind of refocus on what harmony means to us. And I think when we go from a place of a lot of lack or a lot of disconnection or feeling very much like overwhelmed and overly analytical about what's going on in our lives, we can kind of close off to the emotional aspect. And this is almost saying like we're swinging the pendulum from one end to the other, where we're going from like, I have to make it make sense. It has to be like more logical, this, that, the other, moving into, I need to do what feels right, blah, 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 blah. And so Temperance is kind of saying like, instead of going from one extreme to the other all of the time and kind of feeling like it's hard to bring the two elements together, Temperance is kind of telling us, okay, we get a chance to, this is still crooked. I hope that's more straight. I need like the little grid line so I can kind of tell. I think that this is kind of telling us like, all right, now it's time for us to bring things into balance because we're moving into a time that is going to be more focused on what we're alchemizing, what we're doing, how we're showing up in different ways. Because the magician, not the mission, I guess the mission of the magician is to really allow us to have this sense of manifestation, this sense of spiritual awareness. Now, it's interesting if you understand how the fool's journey goes in tarot, because the magician is the very first person that the fool meets. And the magician is really about understanding that all of the tools necessary for you to accomplish what you need to do are already within you. And for pile number 2, I think that maybe this year has been one where you have rediscovered something within yourself. Maybe it's an understanding of how powerful you are. Maybe it's an understanding of what you really desire and what that looks like for you moving forward. It could also be an invitation to kind of say, you know what? I don't have to live my life according to what makes other people comfortable. I can really step fully into all that I am and know that in perfect trust, I am manifesting the life of my dreams. I am doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing with my energy and moving fully into that. And I think with temperance behind it, having that sense of relearning what balance means to you as you're kind of moving into this next phase, the magician is very much, it's interesting because I think the magician also rolls over Mercury, which Mercury is in Sagittarius. So again, we're kind of getting a little bit of that energy here. So maybe this retrograde, Mercury in Sagittarius, is going to be really about understanding that some people are just doing the best that they can, even if it doesn't look like anything that you would do with where you're at. And maybe this is having a new level of understanding about who you are, what you value, what that looks like for you moving forward, and what you're trying to do with that as you kind of move into this upcoming year. So I think you're moving into a much more balanced yet magical phase in the sense of you feel a little bit more prepared for really co-creating with the universe in new and exciting ways. But you have to learn that you already have everything you need within you. And you are a lot more powerful than maybe you're giving yourself credit for. All right, I hope that makes sense so far. I'm going to move on to the oracle cards. The very first one we have is Good Fortune. And is that not the magician and the Ten of Cups kind of energy? Now, Good Fortune is essentially kind of telling you like you're moving into a phase where things are finally aligning for you in the ways that maybe you had been wanting them to. And easier said than done, right? To have that perfect trust that everything is going to work out in your favor, that things are finally shifting and moving. I think with Pluto moving into Aquarius, a lot of us are kind of like getting like that big, like, that big sigh of finally, and a lot of the outer planets are moving into different signs, and so we're getting this kind of like almost like generational like sense of relief of like, oh my gosh, finally something is going to shift, and we're feeling it. We're feeling that sense of it can feel very uncomfortable when we are at the end of something. I don't think that humans deal very well with endings, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there is a lot to be said about the challenges and the difficulties that come from endings, especially when they are unexpected or sudden. And I mean endings in all way, whether it's, a relationship, a circumstance, a job, a dream. Endings are never going to feel comfortable or easy for us. But as someone that really appreciates the lessons in death and what death is metaphorically and physically or literally, I think a lot of us can benefit from understanding that by letting go, it gives us an opportunity to plant a new seed. It gives us an opportunity to kind of move into the next thing. Now, what does all of this have to do with good fortune is essentially we have to let go of the things that have been dragging us down, whether it is partnerships, whether it is jobs, whether it's circumstances, situations, thought patterns, whatever. Our beliefs, and I think with these other cards, they're really kind of saying like, we got to bring things back into balance. We have to start looking at what we believe for ourselves so that this good fortune can really start to kind of come into all areas of our lives. And I know it's easier said than done. I'm not going to sit here and say that, because as someone that has really gotten her ass kicked this year, I get it. And it is challenging to kind of say, all right, things are going to work out in my favor. I've been very cautiously optimistic about things. I'm very much like in a sense of like, okay, what does that look like? How will that be? And I think that's why we are getting this worry not card too, because it's almost saying like, all right, you've been stressing, girl. Like, let's, surrender a little bit. Let's let it go. And even if you're not a girl watching this, girl to me is gender neutral. So we're just going to use it as like what it is. It's dude, essentially, for our geriatric millennials like me. But essentially, it's really just kind of saying like, chill out, dude. Stop worrying about everything. Just let it be. A thing with a magician, which I didn't discuss earlier, was a good magician knows what they're going to do before they perform the actual manifestation. So I think the magician is a reminder for you of how powerful you are, and to understand that you say, I know that it's going to work out. I know that it's going to be what I need it to be, because I am making space for it to be that way. And I know that I'm capable of it. And that's why we have worry not. The thing with manifesting and positive affirmations, moving into like more positive kind of thinking and sort of that kind of energy, is that you cannot keep digging up the seed that you've planted to make sure that it's taking root. You're going to damage it. So stop trying to control and step over and check on and this and that and the other all of the time. Let it be what it needs to be. Just say, you know what? This is my intention. The universe, my ancestors, my guides, whatever, maybe God, whatever it is that you subscribe to and believe in, is working on my behalf at all times, and just really trusting that, really moving into that energy and saying, I know that because I'm aligning myself with what I need to do, which it looks like you have been doing, that is where I will bring into balance this sense of co-creating with the universe, something new, something different, something that may feel challenging to me, but also alchemizing this into something beautiful, so that what I manifest and what I have coming into my life seems like good fortune, but it's because of my hard work. It's because of my belief and my sense of showing up for that. So I'm not going to worry about what the universe is doing. Now, in alignment with everything else, we have inner authority, which is about trusting yourself, listen to your true self, trauma versus guidance. I think a lot of us are moving towards a little bit more of a recognition and understanding of what we've experienced in our life and that trauma, right? Kind of like this, temperance kind of energy of like finding that balance. And I think this is almost saying like, okay, are we experiencing life out of trauma, or are we allowing ourselves to be guided, to be divinely guided into the next thing? Are we allowing ourselves to kind of show up the way that we should in this energy and not holding back or being fearful of what that means? And again, trusting yourself is going to feel uncomfortable if it's not something that comes naturally to you, if it's not something that feels like just easy, because sometimes it's not. As someone that went from like really trusting herself to really questioning herself this year, I can tell you this is a hard thing to kind of step back into, especially if you're like, I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought that I was being divinely guided, this, that, the other. And then there's the other side of that coin, which is like maybe everything does happen for a reason, even if it means that some experiences that have caused suffering or hardship or difficulties or challenges were necessary and I was ready for them. I'm not going to sit here and say that everyone deserves the bad things that happen to them, because I think that's a really shitty way of thinking about life. I think it's more of just having to experience certain things because maybe there's a lesson in that that is necessary at times. But that doesn't really remove the buckedness basically that can happen when we kind of crash into each other. And I think that this card is really saying that the spiritual lessons that have been coming up for you are really about your inner authority and listening to your true self and learning how to trust the divine guidance that is here for you. So maybe all of these cards are kind of saying like, all right, we have to kind of start stepping fully into trusting ourselves and who we are and how we're showing up for that energy. Now, the Mother of Invention, I think I pulled this card before. I don't really remember what it was talking about. So we're going to look in the guidebook because I don't know what it means. Oh, that's funny. I opened right up to it. So sparking ingenuity. So necessity is the mother of invention. So you might need to get creative and use your ingenuity to create something either totally new or more efficient, like the Temperance card. So it may take patience, experimentation, or a few failed tries. Don't be afraid to be inexperienced at something new. Don't be afraid to be the student. Don't be afraid to be teachable and to learn and to maybe not always get it right on the first try. I think a lot of us feel like we have to be the experts as soon as we try something. And as somebody that is a perfectionist, I totally get it because usually if I'm like, I'm not good at that, I am like, I'm done. I don't want to try it again. But then there's also this little stubborn part of me that's like, I have to try to be good at that too. So maybe this is an opportunity for you to put yourself out there in some new ways and to not hang on to this idea that you have to get everything right on the first try or the very first time you try something. Okay. We're going to talk about this Oracle of Pluto card. Again, I don't really use this deck, so I don't know what this means. So we're going to look for this card meaning first. Okay. So with crab, it's all about self-protection, boundaries. Oh my goodness. Teaching others how to treat you. So this is the master of self-protection, never leaving behind your armor and perpetually armed with sharp bone-crushing claws. So essentially, it's really talking about being ready to defend yourself, being ready to understand that it's okay to have very hard boundaries between you and others. I think that this is really talking about allowing your boundaries to grow, to shift, and transform with you as you become more of who you are. And I think boundaries are something a lot of people talk about, but I don't think that they really understand. They just think it's like, I said no. Boundaries can be something as simple as saying, like, this is what it is. I'm not going to allow that. There's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of people feel like they have to explain their boundaries and justify their boundaries. And I think that this is kind of saying, like, nope. It's time to, understand when you're ready to kind of move on, when you're ready to kind of stand for what you want and what you need, and really teaching other people what you're willing to tolerate in relationships and connections. And so I think that this is really telling you that it is time to assert yourself in new ways and to honor your boundaries, honor your own needs. Don't feel like you have to explain what you want, what you need, and what you deserve to people that are never going to understand what you're wanting to do. And then finally, we have signs, which is I watch for, notice, and trust the signs that heaven continually sends. I think with all of these cards, they're really telling you, like, hey, start trusting us. Like, we're here for you. We're giving you things. Stop worrying about things. Trust your guidance. Don't let yourself be misinformed by the trauma that you've experienced. The mother of invention, this is an opportunity for you to kind of get out there and do different things, even if it feels very uncomfortable. And by having your boundaries, everything will work out the way that it's supposed to. So thank you so much for joining me, Pile 2. I hope that this reading brought you some clarity. As always, please take care, stay safe, and make good choices. Bye. Hello, pile number 3. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see what we have for you. And also, you may have noticed I changed the angle a little bit so that I could actually see what I was recording. So I kind of noticed in some of the other recordings, I was struggling to figure out where my camera is on my phone because I do these on my phone. So if the quality is not that great, I am sorry. I'm just a girl trying to figure out how to do YouTube. So, all right, let's see what pile number 3 needs to hear today. First, we have the 3 of Cups, the Page of Coins, the 7 of Cups, the 5 of Wands, the 10 of Coins, and then finally the Knight of Swords. Okay, put these guys over here for now. And let's get our oracle cards. What do we say? We have Earth. And then we have, let's see, what else? Endless Abundance. Okay. And then we have the Collective. And next we have, I'm going to get this one here. We have Lean on Me. That's a beautiful card. I like all these like orangey kind of colors we're getting here. All right. And then from the Oracle of Pluto, we have the House Cat. And then finally, we have Children. Okay. All right. Let's see. Are we ready to kind of get into it? All right. So the very first card we have here is going to be the 3 of Cups, which this is a card of like expansion and celebration and connection and like sharing the love that we have with one another. It's very much about coming together with our like fellow friends, our community, our like fellow humans that really see us where we're at, that want to celebrate with us. And so this is very much an invitation to kind of go out, get together with your friends, have a couple of drinks if that's your thing, really just kind of coming together and celebrating life and what it means to feel and love and to be together with others. And so I think that this is a great message for this week as we're kind of beginning, like really kicking off the holiday season. A lot of us are wanting to kind of hang out with the people that we love, kind of like making plans to kind of share in the joy that we've experienced together. And so it can be very much this kind of energy of coming together with those that we want to celebrate with. Now, next to that, we have the Page of Coins, which this can really signify an opportunity for a new venture, whether it's financial, whether it's kind of getting out into the world and exploring in some new ways. It is very much that kind of energy of showing up in what really truly matters to you in the physical world, whether that's, again, material, physical, your home, your space, your career. Maybe this is the opportunity for like a new workout plan or something of that nature. It's very much about really embodying yourself and then also trying something new. Now, in other ways, this is also known as a card that talks about a new job. So it can be a reflection of maybe wanting to kind of branch out, start something new, kind of planting the seeds of what would be the next project for you. I think that this can also be a signifier for maybe feeling a little bit inexperienced in some ways, or maybe feeling like you don't always have all of the answers necessary in order to overcome and achieve what it is that you're looking for exactly. But I think that having the 3 of Cups before it, I think it's almost like pushing this kind of sense of like maybe collaborating, connecting, finding new ways of really showing up. I'm going to try to straighten this out. I hope it's more straight. All right. And I think that this is really just kind of saying like maybe this is an opportunity for you to try something new, to be like teachable, to be more open to how you want things to kind of shift for you moving forward. And I think the big one with this is that it can just really talk about coming together in new ways with people. Now, the Seven of Cups can really talk about maybe feeling like there's a lot of choices being presented to you at this time. And so there is a little bit of a sense of like daydreams and illusions, maybe not really seeing everything quite so clearly, because there is this element of being a little bit overwhelmed by everything that is being presented to you at this time. The other thing with this card is that it can talk about maybe feeling like you're wishing that there was an opportunity for you to have something else presented to you. So maybe you're not very happy with what is being kind of like put in front of you at this time. And I think with this is that maybe a lot of us are kind of realizing that the things that maybe we've focused on or the things that we've worked really hard towards are not really in alignment with what we want for ourselves long term. So I think a lot of us are having this kind of sense of like, well, what's really out there? What's really going on? Now, cups talk about relationships and connections and our feelings and our intuition. So 7 to me is very much a number of like choices and almost being not so much like at a crossroads, but almost feeling like you're coming up on one. So there is this kind of like spiritual element that comes with it of like having to really look at everything presented to you and being much more aware of how you intuit what is right for you moving forward. And I think the biggest thing with the 7 of Cups is there is a little bit of this element of, I don't want to say dissatisfaction, but maybe disillusionment with what's going on, because maybe you feel like you can't really choose for yourself, or you haven't been able to kind of see things a little bit more clearly. So it's made it a little bit challenging for you to really move forward and to kind of say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how I want things to kind of look for me. This is how I want things to feel for myself. And I think that right now there may be kind of a sense of like a challenge being presented to you because of this energy. I think the other thing with the 7 of Cups is that sometimes not everything that is being kind of like shown to us at this present moment is going to be good for us. It's not always going to make the most sense. It's not always going to look how we need it to look, if that makes sense. I think the biggest thing with this is that in the traditional kind of like tarot deck, like you see the cups and there's like all these different things in each of the cups. And sometimes there's a snake, sometimes there's like, you know, something that's like not that great being presented to you. And I think the 7 of Cups really embodies that kind of energy of just because something is being offered to you doesn't always mean that it's good for you or exactly what you may need or really in alignment with what you're wanting. And that's the tough thing about choice, right? Is sometimes we're presented with things, but they're not always like the best thing for us in general. And so we kind of struggle with what that means for what we're going to do long term with that energy. Now, I think with the 7 of Cups is that maybe right now you just kind of feel a little bit of like at a crossroads with it, where you're just kind of trying to understand what this means for you, like trying to make the best out of the situation and still feeling like it's not really in alignment with yourself. Even if you're like, I thought this was going to be something good. I put in the effort, I put in the seeds. I was really happy about it at one point, but right now I'm kind of feeling like I'm still out of my element with this. And I think that's where the 5 of Wands is kind of coming up underneath. It's kind of saying like there's a little bit of this sense of conflict, of challenges, of almost feeling like you're being put upon, in the sense of maybe not everyone understands what you're trying to do and what you stand for. Wands are our passion, our drive, our, you know, kind of sense of like who we are, and in the sense of what really drives us, like where do our passions lie? It's momentum, it's movement. 5s are the number of obstacles and challenges and change. And so something is changing with how, like maybe changing within like what you're passionate about. Maybe something's changing with like where your creativity lies. Maybe even something changing with like how you're moving through life at the current moment. It may feel very much like you're up against like that the odds are stacked up against you, would be like the best way of putting it, because it talks about like challenging times, obstacles, a sense of like fear of kind of stepping into the unknown. And I think with the Five of Wands, we're kind of, especially with the Seven of Cups, kind of pushing that energy. It's almost saying like, maybe you feel like you're trying to make the best choice out of what's going on here, but you still understand that there's still going to be challenges and conflict and things that are not really coming together the way that you thought they were going to. So there is a little bit of this sense of not really knowing what is going to happen moving forward. And so it can feel very uncomfortable for you in so many different ways. Now, this can have something to do with work. This can also have to do something with like, Mars moving into Leo, and a lot of people kind of seeing this kind of like more aggressive sort of energy, a little bit more self-centered. It may come off that way. And I know for the holidays can be kind of a contentious time for a lot of people as well, because they're having to kind of go back and see maybe people that they don't always see all of the time. So there may be this like sense of wanting to defend yourself. And I think with everything kind of going on globally, and especially here in America, a lot of us are having very contentious discussions and hard realizations about what we feel are our boundaries moving forward in our interpersonal relationships. And so I think a lot of us are kind of feeling some of this like collective energy as well. But with this, I feel like this is also on a personal level. There's something going on that maybe you feel like you're having to kind of stand up and fight for what you want and what you need. And so it can feel a little bit challenging in the sense of maybe feeling like other people are kind of ganging up on you, or you're having to really be very aware of what your intentions are and what you're willing to kind of stand up for moving forward. Now, next up, we have the 10 of Coins, which is a card of like everything coming together, all of your hard work, the culmination of your efforts. And it is very much like you receiving the financial, physical, material reward for your dedication, for your, desires, for what it is that you've been kind of fighting for. So if you've been fighting for something and it feels kind of lost, or you kind of feel like you're the only person kind of pushing forward on certain things, you're going to get your just reward. You're going to receive your like pot of gold at the end of the rainbow sort of thing. And I think that this is also kind of saying like maybe it's time to kind of pay attention to your physical body, paying attention to your material goods, your space, your home, really taking charge of it. Maybe that's another thing, is energetically you're feeling drained, and this is kind of saying like, let's take it back, let's make it ours, let's make it successful, let's make it something that feels good for us on so many different levels. And I think with the 10 of Coins, it is very much this energy of embodying what abundance, endless abundance really means to you, and really enjoying that in so many different ways. And abundance isn't always just coins, sometimes it's physical health, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's, the relationships and supportive measures that you have behind you. It's the opportunity to do things that you really love. And I think those are other forms of abundance that some of us tend to overlook. So while you may not have all of the coins in your pocket right now, maybe there's a lot of opportunities for you to really focus on what speaks to you and what you really desire and what it is that you really need. So I think all of these cards are kind of pushing towards this sense of, it may feel like you're having to kind of battle out and stand up for what you want, what you need, what is driving you. Even if right now you're kind of feeling a little bit disillusioned by some of the things that haven't really come together. But all in all, it's almost like the Knight of Swords is here at the end, kind of saying like, all right, we're going to get up, we're going to do what we need. We're finding this like quickness, this like clarity within our mind, where we're starting to see things with a sense of really truly understanding who we are, what we want, and what we're doing. I think the other thing with the Knight of Swords that maybe we tend to forget as well is that it is this beautiful energy of cutting away from anything that is no longer viable in our lives. And I think with all of these kind of earthy cups kind of cards here, that there's almost this reminder of, have we made space for what we want? Have we cleared away from anything that really doesn't make sense for us anymore? The Knight of Swords is also a fast message that maybe you're finally starting to kind of get this sense of understanding that you have to be willing to fight for what it is that you want. You have to kind of be willing to say, all right, this is what I truly believe in. This is what speaks to me. This is what I really desire for myself and what I want for my life moving forward. Knights to me are this kind of energy of really going after what you believe in and what you want. Really saying, I believe in something so much, I'm willing to fight for it. So I think with the swords here, it's really talking about our truth, our empowerment, our words, our mental kind of capacity, and that mental dexterity of being able to change our minds as needed. And I think with the Knight of Swords, it's almost saying like, okay, things have maybe shifted. Maybe I've learned a couple of things. Maybe I've made some different choices, and I'm willing to kind of go to bat for it. I'm willing to feel much more empowered in the choices that I'm making. I'm willing to kind of essentially change the narrative of like what's been going on here. And I'm not going to, allow other people to make me feel challenged with what I have going on in a way that kind of removes me from my abundance, that removes me from my personal power and really truly enjoying my life. So I think these cards are kind of saying like this is an opportunity for you to reflect on what you value, how you're supported, what opportunities are you taking advantage of. Really reevaluating your choices, and especially like since we do have Mercury in retrograde, I think the biggest thing here is to kind of like reevaluate our choices, like what's being presented to us, what does this look like, what does this feel like, and to understand that every misstep doesn't always mean that it is such a setback that we can't propel ourselves forward with that energy. Sometimes challenges can feel hard to overcome, or they can feel very, again, challenging. I mean, it's a challenge, right? But it can also feel like it is something that is like such a setback that it's hard for us to kind of look at what that means for our redirection. And I think with the Ten of Coins here and the Knight of Swords, it's almost saying like, you focus on your long term. You focus on what you've been trying to do this whole time and what that means for you, and just get really clear on what steps you need to make, what strategies are going to get you where you need to get, even if it seems like you're kind of moving about the current energies without really having a clear direction. I think that it's going to get very clear before you even realize it, if it's not already clear and you're really starting to see, oh, okay, I needed to kind of get myself out there in some ways that were very uncomfortable so that I could really understand what I'm willing to build for myself that is going to really bring me the abundance that I'm looking for and the stability that maybe I haven't had previously, so that I can really move into things much more clearly and communicate who I am in new and exciting ways. So we move on to the actual oracle cards we got here. Very first one we have is Earth, which to me, Earth is really just kind of talking about connecting more to the physical, connecting to our homes, connecting to our spaces, connecting to our work, connecting to our physical bodies, connecting to like what the material means to us. And I don't know if anybody else is feeling like this year. I haven't really felt like anything. And I don't know what I mean by that, like in the sense of like, I don't really know how to explain it other than I just don't really feel like anything. I haven't really been celebrating any holidays. I've kind of struggled to even do like moon phase magic and connecting a little bit more to physical things that are usually kind of like anchors for me throughout the year, if that makes sense. This year has felt very ethereal, very like not real. I don't even know how to explain it other than that. It just feels very much like Glitch in the Matrix kind of vibes, which I'm not really into that kind of energy, but that's kind of how this year has felt. It's felt very out of place, out of sync, out of like transmission. It's been very weird for me personally. And I don't know if anybody else has been feeling that, but I think with Earth, it's almost saying like we need to kind of anchor ourselves back down. We need to maybe be a little bit more aware of our personal energy and what we need and desire out of that space. Now, I think the other thing with Earth is maybe it's almost a reminder of we need to be more grounded. We need to be more realistic in the sense of what is actually physically going on. What are we requiring right now? What are we valuing? What is valuable to us at this current moment, whether that's time, money, effort, experience. All of these things remind me very much of like earth energy, and to again be very aware of what are we physically creating for ourselves. I know so many of us are so caught up in the digital space, the digital world, but what does that translate to in your physical space? Like, are you still making time for things that are nourishing to you, things that feel good for you, things that feel connected for you? And if not, why are you not making time for those things and those aspects of your life as well? All right, my dog has been drinking forever. So, okay. All right, so moving on to Endless Abundance is our next oracle card. Sorry if you can hear her drinking in the background. To me, this is really just kind of saying, like, let's get ready for it. Let's move into this energy of really honoring what it means to be endlessly abundant. And like I said earlier, abundance isn't always about money. It can be time, it can be relationships, it can be health, it can be opportunities. So I think that this is really just kind of asking us to be captivated by the possibilities, infinite possibilities for what we are looking for what we need, for what, we value in so many different ways. And I think with Endless Abundance, we're kind of moving more fully into our kind of like sovereignty of knowing and understanding that we deserve that we deserve to have endless abundance in our life, and that we are capable of really having a really luxurious, luscious, and beautiful opportunity presented to us in so many different ways. Now, next to that, we have the collective, which is all about, understanding that everything is connected. There's collective growth, we're being supported, just kind of like this Three of Cups kind of energy, where even if we don't really always know why certain things are coming together, like we need to kind of celebrate that connection, that collective energy that maybe we've forgotten. And I think with this, it's almost like saying, like, okay, we are so connected. What are we feeling? What are we tuning into? What kind of energies are we allowing in our space, in our, energetic and auric field? Are we connecting with other people that are grounded, other people that are in their abundance and kind of sharing that magic with us? Or are we kind of forgetting that we have to be very clear on what we believe and kind of allowing other people's challenges and changes and strife and conflict be something that affects our collective energies? Because if so, then we need to kind of come together with the people that really celebrate us and really see us for what we are and who we are in so many different ways. So I think the collective is kind of saying, like, we're ready to kind of move into the next thing. We're ready to, really step fully in our power in so many new and beautiful ways. Now, next to that, we have Lean on Me, which is what it sounds like. This is an opportunity for us to kind of connect with other people that really see what we need and what we have. Now, I don't really use this deck too often. That's so funny. Every time I've opened this book, it's exactly the card that I need. So this is all about your support system. This is telling you, do you have a support system or community or someone that you can lean on? Everyone needs someone to lean on. So we need genuine community. We need to understand that we're not meant to do life alone. It can feel that way. And I think a lot of us are feeling very isolated and very solitary. We feel disconnected, and it's so weird because we have so much connection in our lives. In so many ways, we can just plug in at any given time and be on social media, but there's no connection. So many of us are feeling isolated and just like we're just going through things and going through the motions and not really connecting. So I think that this is really asking you to find your people, find Find your collective, find your endless abundant, group of people that want to share the love with you. It's more about coming together and knowing what you're willing to fight for, and knowing that in that is your treasure, is connection and relationship and community. So Lean on Me is, I think, a beautiful reminder for those of us that maybe forget, like I do, that we're not meant to do this whole thing by ourselves. We need to kind of show up and be authentic and raw and real about who we are, what we want, what we're trying to do with ourselves, and what that means for us in general as people. I think Lean on Me is also a reminder that maybe we have forgotten how much we need each other. And I'm having a little bit of a revelation with that at this current moment, because I have felt very isolated the last few weeks, just due to my own personal circumstances. And I think that Lean on Me is a beautiful reminder of that energy of, we need to kind of get back to community. We need to get back to the people that see us, the people that get us, the people that really love us as we are. And I'm getting little puppy snores from my puppy at that, which is not a puppy, she's old, but so I'm assuming that the message is good. All right, so next to that we have house cat, which again, I don't really use this deck too often. So I'm going to pause and see what this means in the guidebook, and then we can talk about it. Okay, so this is talking about choices, the easy way out, and rewilding. So I think of house cats as a very interesting kind of energy, because some people either love cats or they hate them. And I am of the camp of, I just love animals in general, and I think cats are adorable. I used to have cats growing up. I haven't had a cat as an adult, but it is something that hopefully in the future will be, something I get. But I think that this is really about looking at the decisions that we're making. Are we truly in alignment with what we want and who we are? And I think sometimes, as this says, we are prone to taking the path of least resistance. We're prone to take what's comfortable, what's easy, because it just is what it is, right? And so again, are you moving towards growth? Are you moving towards things that are like in alignment with your desires, in alignment with what you're looking for and what you need? And I think what this is, that it's really kind of telling you to kind of reconnect to this wilder energy of yourself, of just saying, you know what, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to move into what speaks to me, even if it makes no freaking sense to anybody else. I'm just going to stop trying to live my life according to what I feel other people expect of me. And maybe that's where kind of this little challenge card is coming from, is that maybe you feel like you're having to kind of like fight for what you want and kind of justify who you are. Now, finally, we have the children card, which is really talking about, my heart is filled with love for children, which creates miracles and positive change for them and me. Now, I think that this is more of the calling of connecting to the inner child and healing some of this energy. But you may be somebody that cares a lot about children, or has children, or maybe has an affinity for the energy of children. And so maybe it's kind of telling you to kind of like move back into that positive expectancy that we have when we're working or around children. And I think that this is maybe just a reminder for you, is to maybe kind of like give yourself that time to kind of play and to enjoy like the house cat, and to kind of connect a little bit more to some of those friendships and relationships you had as a child, to kind of come back to the collective, feel more grounded and rooted in who you are, and also kind of moving into, that positive expectancy a lot of us have as children of like, everything's going to be great. I really love my life. It's going to be fun, this, that, the other. And so I think that this children card is kind of stating that maybe we need to kind of move into having a little bit more trust about where we're being led, or maybe it's an opportunity to kind of connect a little bit more to things and desires that you had as a child that maybe you've forgotten over the years. So I really hope that this reading made sense. I know it's a little bit all over the place, but I just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with me. I appreciate you so much. Please take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.